Well, hello everyone. I'm Jack Addis, the director of Lumen Art Projects, which is the home of the Lumen Prize for Art and Technology, and I'll be attempting to moderate this discussion today. For those that don't know, the Lumen Prize celebrates the very best art created with technology through a global competition. Since its launch in 2012, it's awarded more than $80,000 in prize money and created opportunities worldwide for artists who have been longlisted, shortlisted, or won Lumen Awards. The Lumen Prize is run by Lumen Art Projects, a not-for-profit based in the beautiful Brecon Beacons in Wales. We curate exhibitions, commissions and events for venues and cultural institutions, as well as public spaces globally in partnership with our community of artists. Before we get on to the topic of this discussion, I'd like to say thanks to Kadaf for inviting Lumen back to be part of Digital Art Month Miami. It's really, really good to be part of your community and share the love for digital art. So today we're talking about Lumen Prize 2020 presented by Leonardo. What is this project, I hear you ask? Well, Lumen is committed to supporting our winning artists through events, and we would usually be hosting a physical exhibition in London with a series of talks and discussions, but due to, you know what, we're not able to do that this year. But we weren't going to let the pandemic get in the way of our commitments. So this year, the Lumen Prize 2020 award winners are being presented in partnership with Leonardo, the International Society for Arts, Sciences and Technology. You can experience digital art together on New Art City, a multiplayer co-present platform presenting the winners of the Lumen Prize 2020, along with cultural and historical context elaborated from Leonardo's publications. When you visit, you have the opportunity to engage, interact, and dive deeper into the meaning of these exceptional artworks. You can visit this project at leonardo.lumenprize.com. Here with me today are the creative minds behind this project, who will be discussing not only this virtual place, but also questions around the language, audience, and the future of exhibitions or projects online that all fed into the decision-making for this project. So without further ado, I will introduce the team. They'll say a little about their background, then we will have a tour of the project, and then we'll dive right into the discussion. So first up, let's hear from Danielle Siembieda, Creative Director of Leonardo.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. As Jack mentioned, I'm Danielle Siembieda, Creative Director for Leonardo, the International Society for Arts, Sciences, and Technology. We are a global think tank that works on addressing some of the world's most wicked problems at the intersection of art, science, and technology. And we do that through our publishing programs, that we have publications in open access and in print through MIT Press, and through our programs, including this as one example, and our international speaker series, our artist in residencies, and other special projects. We have been fearlessly pioneering since 1968 in the field of art and technology and art and science, and it's our interest and pleasure to be working with incredible partners such as the Lumen Prize to help exemplify and support artists who are humanizing technology and really are pushing the boundaries of digital art. We also have been working with incredible XR producers and artists from all over the world, including some that you'll hear from today. And we're interested in supporting and helping elevate the digital art community, the contemporary art community, and addressing the issues that are surrounding our global change, our global climate, our UN sustainability goals, and doing that in both an equitable and humanistic way. And we're really excited to be here to help support this project in the virtual exhibition that you'll experience hopefully after this presentation, and actually be able to preview some of it during. You'll be able to read some of the historical context that is associated with some of the artworks that really places what each of those emerging technologies and digital arts concepts are in through Leonardo's articles and publications that you'll see in some of the rooms. So we hope that you enjoy the experience inside World And we'll talk a little bit more about that today as we take it on with some of the other producers that are on this, this presentation. Thank you.
Gustavo, would you like to introduce yourself and say a little bit about who you are?
Yes, hello. My name is Gustavo Rincon. I'm a newly minted PhD from UCSB. My research is new media architectures, a new field of research. And this represents one of the components of this new field, communication in VR and telepresence. So I wanted to thank everyone who invited me. And my partner DC is awesome. So he'll be next.
Hi, everybody. I'm artist DC Spensley from San Francisco. My expertise is understanding the condition of telepresence and creating art experiences in simulated space, often called virtual worlds. Well, I've been involved in many such projects since 2006 as an exhibiting artist, curator, developer, and media theorist. Today, I'm here to talk about my role as the creator of the 2020, as a co-creator of the 2020 Lumen Prize exhibition catalog. To that effect, I've been asked to give a tour through it. We might as well just show everyone what this is all about. Bear with me for a moment while I share the screen. See if we can get this to work. Okay. Okay, is everyone, can we see the screen here?
Yeah, it works very well.
Good, okay, great. So one of the ways that we ground people in this is by starting out with a flat web experience. A lot of people are unfamiliar with a 3D world simulated space. And so what we do is we start out with a fairly regular looking website. So we'll go to the lobby first because the lobby is really the hub of of everything here, as lobbies often are. And okay. And sadly, the audio component of this will not necessarily come through for you guys, and but there's a very rich audio situation in this space, so it's one of the advantages of this platform. And if you look around us here, what we tried to do was create an environment that inspired a little bit of gee whiz, a little bit of wonder in the user, and also or in the visitor, and present navigation options that were easy to use and easy to discern. The thing about this space is that if you have any questions about how to move around, if you hit the escape key, you'll see that this little section right here tells you what a gamer would know right away, that you use the WASD keys to navigate. You can also use the arrows, and there are some other options there as well. And also presented here is another user interface in case that you just wanted to jump to a particular artist. You can also reduce your volume, which I'll do right now, because I'm hearing the volume. You can, at this point, you could also take a screenshot and chat with other users. And one way you change your own name down here, and I'll change my name to DC, and done. And suddenly my avatar will show my name. And that's how you would do it too if you were in here. A cool thing about this platform also is when you roll over something here, it displays on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. It'll show you information about that object. So that did away with the necessity to have tags, didactic tags on artworks. Which we'll get to in a minute. These are some tips on how to best experience this this room. And this is actually a navigation kiosk, which we won't use right away. We will eventually get to this. But what we'll do is go over to one of these jump gates here. And we'll walk through these gates, or one of these gates, and visit one of the Lumen Prize winning artists. And things go a little slow when you're sharing the screen in Zoom, but we've had really good response in terms of the optimization of the space. That's fairly important. Behind you, when you drop into one of these experiences, is also the navigation kiosk again, and the tips that are kind of behind you, out of the way. But it helps you orient yourself and give some coherence and consistency to the space. One of the things you can do in here is you can bunny hop by hitting the space bar, and that'll give you a kind of a view if you need to get over get another view, or a little higher view of an artwork. So this pavilion is dedicated to Liliana Farber, and to the left is a biographical section where we have a Lumen commissioned video, a biographical video of the artist, and also we have these artists are actually many storied. They have articles, critical articles written about them, and they appear in the Leonardo Journal. And these articles are these abstracts are represented here, and you can read all about those and understand where this artist is in the larger conversation. This is also an artist statement by that artist. And so if we exit this area, you can walk through the walls, by the way. And we see our navigation kiosk again, in case you wanted to go back to the lobby or to visit another artist. So, but we'll just stay with Liliana's artwork for a moment, her pavilion. And Liliana's project is a series of islands that are born digital, kind of extrapolations that she's created through some of the logbooks, I think are of explorers are related to her effort. And I think she's used an algorithm with Google Earth and created these wonderful islands that exist in that were kind of born digital. So they're in some ways they're native to this environment. And you can see that that this room is hung similar and very much a museum convention, and that is deliberate. We tried not to have the technology too out front, because this is really about the artist and the artwork. Here we go. I'm a little bit. Oh, just so you know, if you get lost in this space, let's say you walk through this wall, you'll see another of these gates back here. And this says go back to the Lumen Prize lobby, and that's what we'll do. We'll go back to the Lumen Prize lobby. This is a little joke from us that you have to brave the open space there in order to get back. There can be humor in virtual reality, I hear. So we're back at the lobby again. This time we're gonna go directly to another artist. Hey, so which artist do you guys want to see, Jack? This is
Ooh, I think
who should we
maybe
visit?
go to the Gold Award winner, Julieta Gill, I think would be fun to see.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so this is our, we lovingly refer to this as the lollipop or the popsicle, which is a navigation kiosk. And what you click on, and it should send us to Julieta, one of my favorite artists in this space. I think she's very charismatic. I've seen her speak a couple of times now, and I really enjoy what she has to say. And the work is interesting. We've one of the things that we've done, our tasks here was to try to translate as well as possible the intentions of the artist into this space and tread the line somewhere between documentation and actual presentation of the artwork. Julieta's artwork is another born digital artwork. Actually, it wasn't born digital, but she did documentation of an action that happened in Mexico City, I believe. And it was a protest on the subject of feminism. And she is highlighting the voices of women as they have done an intervention into a colonialist sculpture. She used a photogrammetography. I'm not sure exactly what what's the actual term for that, Gustavo?
It's photogrammetry.
Photogrammetry. To document this and to create her artwork. Now, the artwork is fairly weighty in terms of its bandwidth use. So we created another room for Julieta for the artwork in particular. I'm going to be brave and try to go there because it's worth seeing this artwork. And so and we should pop right over to that. And we're here. And what I like about this this realization of the artwork is Nuestra Victoria is that you can get inside this artwork. You can inhabit this space, which is an opportunity that they didn't have in Mexico City when this action happened, because the government boarded up the building or this monument and hid the fact that people had done this intervention into the space, into this reaction to colonialism and to what perhaps is an offshoot or of the Me Too situation movement. So I'm going to go back to let's go back to the lobby. Anybody want to pick another artist, or do we have enough time to do that?
Jack?
I think whilst you're taking us through another artist, we could start talking about, this project's been quite, you mentioned DC, it was quite a lot to fit into the timeline we had to create this project. So maybe we could start talking about what our goals were, what we tried to achieve with this work.
Well, I think one of the important things that we did with this work is this project is that we had to find a way to meld two great organizations, two great international organizations, and as well as be true to the intentions of the artists involved, and also make a project that was accessible to people, understandable to people who were not software people. These aren't users, these are art visitors. And somewhere along the line, we had to keep in mind all of these concerns at the same time. This is a publishing effort, but it's also a hybrid that we've invented. I've never seen another virtual exhibition catalog. I've seen virtual galleries, and these sorts of things are fairly commonplace now. But this is a catalog effort that I think treads the line between physical publishing, which is virtual publishing, gaming, museum experience. I think it's all these things at the same time, which is a big role.
One thing I'll say that's really nice about this space is that it's all browser based. So you don't have to have a headset and you can access it on mobile. So this is something that's really globally accessible, which was really important to be able to experience. And while it may seem a little slow on this screen, when you do work with it in your own browser, it's even at low bandwidth, it's a pretty seamless experience. And that's for the complexity of the digital artworks that are exhibited in here. It's a really important success.
Yeah, I want to jump in there and say, our audience we're trying to achieve, the audience that you would find in a physical exhibition. So those people may be coming to this exhibition catalog with not really no gamer background, not quite sure how to move around, and making sure that we achieve our goal of getting as many eyes as possible on these amazing artists and giving them that context. Making sure that this is truly art and technology for everyone, as we like to say at Lumen. I think it's a point where the platform choice was interesting here. We had a lot of discussion about which platform to use, and Danielle, you mentioned there's no need for a headset or any other type of VR, but I think an important point here is that you don't need to download anything either. It's straight in, just visit a URL and play. And getting back to DC's point about the language used, I think is very important here. And maybe Gustavo, you might want to jump in here and talk a bit about the design language as well as the actual signage around these spaces.
Thank you. I would say that this is a melding of two different disciplines or houses, but we're unified with art, let's say. So when I look at this, I look at the idea of virtual world making. So there's already a history to that. Virtual reality, I think that's, over 50 or 60 years of that. But this telepresence and looking at evolving the idea of a catalog or information is extremely important. So a lot of this was made with traditional CAD programs. So there is actual scale to this. So my background is in architecture. So that's 2 of my degrees are in that. So a lot of it, I went to my collaborator and said, what if we made a real space? How do we measure it? How do we see it? What's the height of the eyes, the head? How wide should the doors be? But then there was a process that went into the virtual space, and DC was very wise in curating and understanding the implications of that space. And I think that's extremely important to understand. And that's why there's a seamlessness to it, because it's not just space, there's interface to it. UI. So DC, I think, mentioned earlier about, is architecture user interface? I mean, I don't know, but it seems to be. DC, you were about to say something.
I'm convinced that architecture in virtual worlds is user interface design. It's very similar to that. And there are dimensions on top of that as well, depending upon what the context is. But Jack's mentioned a few times about language. I think one of the first things we did on this project was establish the language to ground the team in what this is, a new kind of exhibition catalog and a bridge between organizations. Our audience are, once again, are not software users, they're art viewers. The spaces are not rooms, but pavilions. And in this way, language put us on track and centered our team on what mattered. Namely, their job was to celebrate the Lumen Prize artists, articulate their new partnership with Lumen Arts Projects and Leonardo. To do this required the invention of something, of a hybrid that didn't exist before we went after it. I think that both Gustavo and I, coming from different disciplines, I was informed a lot by his perspective as an architect in a newly minted PhD, as he says. He brought the excitement of his engagement with academia and his understanding of research to this project. My background is more as an artist, as an exhibiting artist, and as an artist in these spaces. As an artist in physical space, there's a curator. There's physical artifice already. There's museum. There's lighting already set up, and there's jobs. People do all those things for you. In a virtual artist, a virtual reality artist, you have to make all those things. You have to create your own infrastructure, and you have to be prepared to bring that to the table. Because the truth is, no one's going to do that for you. Occasionally, there'll be somebody who'll invite you to a pre-made gallery. I've experienced that before, but it's just really the opportunities there to invent new ways of seeing and to mold the context around an artwork are really wonderful. I just wanted to say one thing that is kind of something I try to keep in mind. It's a little theoretical, but it's a simulated space becomes a real place when we experience it together. I think that really is the key that I try to keep in mind, that space is nothing without someone there next to you experiencing that space with you. It becomes a place. And places are where people go. Spaces are where things are. We've really tried to make this a place and not a space.
I just wanted to forward very quickly the idea of research. So, when we came on board, I think we had two different disciplines, but we came at it as scholarly, artistic, creative, and playful. I think that's the key word here. We wanted to make sure that we celebrated not only the arts and the organizations, but our own interests. So when we say we design this for artists, we actually, Jack and Danielle, there was a coordination of meeting with the artists, listening to the artists, researching the artists, living with it, then designing for it. So let's say if we were designing a museum, these artists were part of the collection that we were designing for. And this museum was in a virtual realm and it's in a catalog, but it's still that rigorous and it's very deep. And it isn't, and one of the components was also looking at books and articles about why this was important. And Leonardo, again, is an extremely good resource and celebrating history, but also the future.
You mentioned play. I think play is critical to, for me, play is work that you do that is not coerced, that is not generated by some sort of external circumstance. With play and gaming are very close to each other. And a lot of people don't like the term gaming because they see things like Grand Theft Auto and the very prurient gaming experiences. This is gaming. Gaming is actually learning. and play is the way you learn and remember things. And if this effort has a game-like feel to it, that I think is to the advantage. How many there have been museums built to house uh, 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 particular artists or art movements, but normally you have to be a long dead artist and your work infinitely famous in order to have a museum built for you. In this situation, we built a museum for these artists, for the Lumen artists, for this diverse group of artists from all over the place, all over the world, and through many, many disciplines. And this is about them. It's about showing their work in a way that you can play. You can be there, and I have some notes about this. Gaming provides incentives. It kindles minor aspirations. It gives you small payoffs. You learn things, and satisfaction is kind of built in to this. And in this situation, the satisfaction of this game, the payoff of this game, to a degree, is, I mean, to the degree it is a game, the payoff is the art. Is the information about these artists, and we're creating a situation where you can get intimate. It's the traveling through virtual reality is very individual when you look at it through a screen, and particularly through a physical artifice like that. So it's an individual experience, and you get closer to the artist, I think, in many ways, by doing it this way than you might in a physical museum.
I wanted to jump in real quick and hear a little bit about I think kind of the visions, because a lot of what I dreamt and thought about is, why am I here? Why did I choose to work so hard with my partner at arms, DC, and not sleep some nights, or get up at 2 a.m, or talk on Sunday morning, or, you know, time and space did not matter anymore. It was about this thing. So I think, Jack and Danielle, I want to hear more about why you chose this moment in time to make this investment.
Well, for Lumen, as I mentioned at the start, it was the commitment we have to our artists. And the twin commitment to that is making art and technology accessible to as many people as possible. So, you know, we were going to have a physical exhibition in London. We were going to do a series of talks physically, but obviously that wasn't possible. So this kind of area, obviously people have been working in this field for, you know, tens of years now. And I think what the current pandemic has allowed is a broadening of people's minds, right? To accept that a virtual space is as valid as a physical space, or place, if we're saying that, right? And you know, the goal my goal for this was to try and recreate a sense of slow viewing. We're always online all the time, and I think that one of my key goals with this was to be able to focus the viewer on a work of art that wasn't born digital necessarily for this space, as DC was talking about. And how do we make choices, design choices, that allow that slow viewing and focus the viewer looking at an image in a space, with this kind of sense of co-presence. You know, there are other people looking at this too. So
in fact, the space was born for the artworks.
I think, you know, some of the, yeah, sure. Sorry, Danielle.
That's okay. I was going to add on to what you were mentioning and give you a little bit of context into the partnership and the history. We have been talking and knowing Lumen Prize for quite some time. I've been on one of the selection committees, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years. And the work that comes through Lumen, in my opinion, is really smart. It is conceptually strong. It's pushing emerging technology boundaries. And the founder of Lumen, Carla, she really is looking at how to create digital art, or how to support digital art for everyone. And coming from a digital art background myself, this is really means a lot to me, to my heart, because there's a lot of purpose, a lot of meaning in how digital artists or new media artists practice. I mean, this is not in the same sort of genre as other traditional media, where it's something that the technology is always evolving and is always pushing, but it also has an effect on everyone in the world. There is not a single person on the entire planet that is not affected by technology, whether it be by artificial intelligence, whether it be by graphic design, whether it be by social media or any other type of format. And so the artists that are coming into this space are asking a lot of questions about technology, and they're pushing those boundaries. And I find a lot of the work that is in this particular exhibition to be critical to the dialogue that is going to allow us to humanize technology. And that is really an essential core part of Leonardo, is how do we actually look at some of these wicked problems and how do we humanize this? Now, our strength has really been a lot around thought leadership and publishing and time and space, and also community building. But one of the things that we were really seeking in a partner was how do we actually add in that other really critical component, which is exhibiting, and how to actually show the work to a broader audience. Because for us, it's really important to get out of just the US or Western scope of visualizing things, but also looking at the Southern Hemisphere, looking at how do we actually reach audiences in China, the global South. How do we actually look at audiences that are not necessarily equipped to have one of these large VR headsets, as an example? And to DC's point about both gaming and the space, gaming, this is not just necessarily a gamified space, but it's really important in terms of understanding how to learn and navigate. But I actually have a little bit of contention with even using the word virtual reality, because to me, this is real. It's not a separate space. We're not in virtual reality or XR. This is a real space. And holding space today is really something that I think Lumen and Leonardo want to do. And one of the ways that we approach this, and when we're looking at platforms and our opportunities to use all sorts of emerging technologies, whether it be we're working with Second Life, or if we were working with Mozilla Hubs, why did we come to New Art City? Well, one of the things that has come up in a lot of different discussions, and one of the jury members, I think for Lumen Prize, Ben Vickers, I met him earlier in the year, and he was talking about all these emerging technologies are not built with the artists at the beginning of the technology, right? They're really supplied to artists, and then artists then somehow hack them.
They're built for something else.
Right, they're built for something else.
Yeah.
So when this opportunity came to work with a platform that was built for artists, by artists, I thought I have the perfect team to assemble for this, because I've worked with DC and Gustavo over the years, and I've understanding that they have the conceptual ability and the historical ability and the understanding of how to make this a reality. So when you have something that was completely natively created for art, by art, I thought that this was really the best way that we can actually create the space with Lumen and show these artists in the best way. And this is where I think this partnership is really important and involving in how we can actually support a larger community moving forward. And so as you're listening to this, and if you are an artist, or you're a curator, or you're coming from a collector space, I really want you to really think about the platform and how this is really connected and created, because this is not a let's just set this up and show it space. This is really about a really holistic view of how we actually understand and experience this new reality that we are in, but also how we can really support it and flourish it moving forward.
Well, this is praxis. This is research and practice. And it is what we have done. And see, here's the thing. This is one of the smart roles of a creative director, Danielle, is creating these, putting together this team of people to do this. So, but we are this is definitely a praxis in every sense of the word.
I just wanted to follow up with what Danielle said earlier. Is, I think that I came at this to be of service of a community, a global community. I think that Danielle and Leonardo, with a series of talks, invited me and many others to come and talk. And I guess every time I saw Danielle and the team, I smiled. And I was like, oh, wow, there's hope. I'm not going to die of a disease. But how do we do something about it? And I think every meeting ended with, what are we going to do about it? And everyone left. And I think I guess I was stubborn enough to say, I'll do whatever it takes. Let's try it. And I was excited about that. And
Glad you did.
I was happy for the trust. But one thing is for sure is that there is going to be, I don't know what web DC we're in, if we're web 2.0, 3.0, or 4.0, but there will be a time where there's going to be not a huge separation between the real and the virtual. So we're talking about this, information and how we communicate. This is a medium of communication. And we, as a team, came together and made our best implementation of a moment in time. And I think DC and I acknowledged the opportunity with trying to communicate the brilliance of each one of the artists, but I also wanted to acknowledge the brilliance of the creative team and the visions that came together.
Art is political. Space is political. Cyberspace is contested, dominated by digital colossi, corporate rhizomes, vast networks inhabiting real and conceptual space. But we try to build a bridge conceptually and practically across platform boundaries, across taxonomies and disciplines, a federation of digital jurisdictions, maybe, regions formerly on competing platforms, technically incompatible, but joined in a universal telepresence. Telepresence is really the most incredibly wonderful thing. That's where we can come together, cross borders, and instead of making us less human, it makes us more human. It makes us, it gives us the ability to be together and to get people together who would never see each other. I've never met Gustavo personally, or Jack. Now, Danielle and I went to school together, so I know Danielle quite well, but otherwise we wouldn't. We would Jack and Gustavo and I never would have gotten together here. And this is, and right now too, this record that we're creating is a whole other thing. It's documentation of a telepresence. I don't know about you, but that's something that really makes me smile.
So what do you guys think is the future of these types of projects that we've created? Do you think that, when we defeat COVID, that there'll be such a drive to continue making and being in these telepresent spaces, or do you think that they'll be seen as perhaps an addition to what museums offer or institutions offer as standard, perhaps?
Televangelism did not keep people out of church. It actually helped church in so much it drove people more in that direction. I had a discussion with Rudolf Friedling a couple of years ago. He said, why should I have this virtual reality thing in the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art? And that's what I said to him. I said, televangelism did not keep people out of church. And having virtual spaces in the MoMA will bring more larger audiences, more diverse audiences, and increase the eyeballs and the awareness of your artwork. Forgive me if I walked on somebody.
No, I just wanted to chime in just 1 second. So I would say that I come at this through just pure research. And when I started using digital tools, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd generation of AutoCAD. And I didn't know my professor at the time worked with one of the most prolific architects in the world, Peter Eisenman. So I would say that the future is there's going to be a collapse. So if the chips are going to be cheap enough and inexpensive enough that we can fit on any object, so that's intelligent objects. There's another area of research called smart cities. So everything is going to be interconnected. Now, are we going to be a part of that data? Now you can look at China. Yes, with facial recognition, there will be a location between your face and physical space. But where does that data go, and how do we as human beings experience it? And I think we are making a claim here that this is a catalog. But what if we expanded this catalog and this idea globally to every museum, and we could access it at any time? So I think right now, that is, I think, where industry is going. And at some point, the interface to computer is going to be replaced by chemicals, is the idea. Internalized chips. That is so far bleeding edge that we're not even there. But if artists are not in that space, then who's going to take it over? And is it going to be a computer that's going to dictate to us? Or is it the poetry that we have as artists and scientists that we want to evolve that vision?
I think computers won't be dictating to us. I think they really need us to reboot them when they get all confused. I've known computers function in the field fairly badly at this point. So I think our job as rebooters of computers is fairly safe so far. Although I am fairly disturbed about the whole facial recognition thing. They're doing stuff like that. And there's a Silicon Valley billionaire that's funding that kind of work in San Francisco, and it's immediately these sorts of things fall into nefarious use and authoritarian type stuff. Yeah.
No, one thing that I made mention to everyone was that the first time that we toured it as a group, I felt like I was a kid again. So I felt like I was 5 years old in Disney. I think it's Disney World in Florida. Epcot Center.
You said, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and I totally was in awe, and I felt like I could put my hands up and just touch the sky and try to run to these things and just stare at them. And I thought about, in my education, the best times I've ever had was with my mother, who passed, that we stayed in a museum together staring at art for hours and feeling safe from the world. And I think that if any of that came to this space, it's because we tried, because we cared, and we love what we do. And I'm very appreciative of this group that extended their trust to us, DC and I.
I would definitely go underscore that as well. I'd like to thank you, Danielle, and Jack, and both your organizations for bringing this good project to us, trusting us, empowering us to do this, and also to my colleague Gustavo. I'm delighted to have met you and to collaborate with you. We're just getting warmed up, everybody. So if you're interested in such a thing, give us a call or send an email to Lumen and Leonardo, and they'll get the word out to us, because we're warmed up.
Danielle, do you have any closing comments or remarks about how much you love everyone here today?
It's a big love fest. Okay, this is really about how collaborative teams are put together, and I think that this is just a start. And as you're watching this and as you're learning this, get onto the site at leonardo.lumenprize.com and really explore and think about your experience in this space and how this can really help evolve and form your work. We're here as a team, but we're also here to respond to you. So thank you all and everyone for all of your collaboration, thoughts and ideas and ways to actually make this a reality. This was really a beautiful manifestation to really show digital art in the best way possible. So thank you.
All right, I just want to say thanks to you guys again for all the phenomenal work you put in to make this project come true. The exhibition is actually open for, I believe, a year. So if you can't make it today to see this virtual catalog, you've got a long time. So, you know, enjoy.
Oh, I
Thank
was
you,
about to.
everyone. Oh, sorry.
No, I was about to say quickly, please take selfies, screenshots, put it on your big screen TVs, project it out on side of buildings. The idea is for you to feel safe and to have fun.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.